Hey, BT6, David Burns here. We've had some pretty rough weather the last week or so, off and on. Rainy today, but I got a little break in the weather, so I'm going to open up a hive for the BT6 members. We can go through and look at it. What I want to do with you today, I want to take a typical hive. This is one that I caught as a swarm. I combined it with a very small colony that was down to about 3 frames of bees and were queenless. And so I want to see how things are going. This will help you be able to make an assessment of your colony going into winter. You know, what steps are you going to take? We're going to just kind of go frame by frame and see what we think. I'll go step by step, show you what I think is going on, what's good and bad, and then you can apply this same evaluation to your hive as well. And as you can see, very little foraging going on, as I shared last time we were together. And this would be a good time just to check out the hive and see what's on the inside. You can see a little bit of stuff on the outside, sprinkles of maybe feces from the bees. It could be some propolis of bees landing. There's not enough there to really alarm me. Some of that has been there quite a while. But yeah, when you see some of these darker, where bees have defecated on the outside, you always want to, think, oh, is that nosema? And you get a little concerned. But I've seen this before, and it turned out to be nothing. But typically, most hives don't show that. This is a larger hive that's foraging less. And again, you can see some propolis here. And other hives like this one, very little, just a little bit on the outside here and there. So a little bit of a concern, but we'll just keep watching it and evaluate this colony. I'm just going to open it up here, smoking from the top. Smoke a little bit on the entrance to put a little smoke on the guard bees. Check the top cover for small hive beetle. I'll take a quick glance, see if I see any beetles, and I did not. Smoke a little bit across the top. This is a super that I put on, and they have drawn out 1, 2, 3, 4, just 4 in the middle because it's kind of a late swarm that I caught in July, so not much activity there. I will go ahead and look, make sure the queen is not in one of these frames on top. Since I am not using a queen excluder, I want to make sure the queen isn't on this middle frame. Might as well find her early. So there would be no queen on this frame because it's simply a frame of capped over honey, as you can see. We'll look at the one beside it just to make sure that the queen isn't on this frame. Sometimes the queen will move up into freshly drawn comb. These haven't been drawn out all that long, but this is simply nectar. The queen is never going to lay where there's nectar in these frames. Now I'm going to go ahead and take another look, basically 2 more frames over where they may have drawn the comb out but have not put any nectar in yet. That would allow me to see if the queen is trying to beat them to lay some eggs before the nectar gets there, and she's not. So they're still putting nectar in. Here's a good example of propolis. Those of you that may be new to beekeeping, this is propolis right here. The bees gather this from conifers, different kind of plants, and they use it for glue and part of the bee's immune system. It's antimicrobial, antibacterial. They use it to strengthen the cells when they build the comb. And it is used to coat sometimes the inside of comb before they lay eggs in it. Alright, feeling good that the queen is not on the top here. We're going to go ahead and take this super off and look in the next deep, see what's going on there. Now, some of you may be wondering, what do you do with a colony that has, you know, a handful of frames drawn out in a super? They're not going to draw all of this out before fall. What do you do now? I'm going to just harvest it and never put it back on and feed from the top of this deep. I don't want to overwinter with this super with only 4 or 5 frames that aren't drawn out all the way and don't have much honey in them. Okay, here I have 1, 2, almost 3 frames that aren't drawn out at all. Again, a super that I combined with a weak colony, a swarm that I combined with a weak colony. It doesn't bother me to go through winter if they don't pull these 3 out. I'll be fine with that. But if you want to, if you have another weak colony that only has 4 or 5 frames, you can lose these 3 that aren't drawn out and combine it with, take the queen out and combine those other 3 drawn comb into here with bees on it. I'll show you what I'm talking about real quick here. The brand new frames, undrawn, bees are barely on them. I have 2. Now this next one, the third one, has a little more activity and nothing on that side, but you can see they're starting to draw out more on this side. So they're working. And you can see some of the brown area here at the top. This is actually some pollen that the bees have brought in. If you're wondering what pollen looks like, I would look for eggs and the queen on this frame because it has new comb on it. And I do see, I don't have a very good, this is a cloudy day, but I do see eggs on this frame, and I'm not sure if my camera will get down into the comb, but on some of these cells, if it's in focus, you could see some of the eggs. I apologize, I know it's impossible to see eggs sometimes, but I do see eggs. So the queen is close, she's been here. Some of these eggs are approximately 2 days old because they're starting to lay down on their, they're starting to bend over. About where my finger is, I do see some larvae. And it's about 3, maybe 4 days old in the cells. So you can see the queen has been working this frame. I've got enough room to put this frame back and draw it toward me. Now this colony is really cooperating, but I don't want to take a chance that they are going to continue to do that. So I'll remember now to smoke again to keep my colonies warm while I work them on a cloudy, almost rainy day. So don't get mesmerized in beekeeping and forget to use your smoker. You want to keep the bees calm. All right, here's another frame here. We'll take a look at that. This is what we love to see, cap brood. Pupa developing under capped over wax cells. So here we would rarely find the queen because of the cap brood. There's no place for her to lay. Occasionally she'll walk through there going to another frame. You could accidentally or incidentally just catch her in the act of walking across. All right, well, instantly I feel that in August, now that this brood is there, when it emerges, it could very well be bees of winter physiology. We're a little bit early for that, but I'm really glad to see that much brood. This is my future bees right here. No queen, but I'm glad to see. I'm going to just remember one frame of cap brood, really looking good. Good brood pattern. All right, let's look at another frame on top here. And basically, looking at the same thing. Wonderful laying pattern, beautiful. Future bees. Oh my gosh, beautiful laying pattern. Future bees. So now I've got 2 full frames, each of these frames will produce 7,000 bees. So now I'm up to 14,000 future bees just on 2 frames. That's how my mind works. Now the next frame is interesting. Don't panic when you see it. I know a lot of you ask me questions about this next frame when you see something like it. It's a medium frame in a deep box, and it simply means bees have added 3 inches of their own comb on the bottom of it. Let me show you. So it's a medium super that they've just added honey to, but look at the bottom. They've added a little more honey and drone brood. You see the larger cell size on this size. This is drone brood. It can fall off and break, so be careful when you flip it over like this. Again, the queen has laid a lot of eggs in this. Some of you ask, would you tear that off? No, I wouldn't. I see queen cups on the bottom. Nothing is in them. They're just there in case the bees would need them. These queen cups right here on the bottom. Little tiny. They're not cells yet. They're just cups. And there's nothing in them. So I'm happy. This doesn't bother me. I'm fine letting bees draw a little of their own comb out like this. They put a lot of pollen right here on this side. Look at the orange pollen. And it's fine to leave that in there. Next frame is just like this one, only a little bit more messy, you might say. Let me show you. Haven't seen our queen yet, but we have seen eggs, so we know she's in there laying. It's messy because sometimes when we separate it, it might drip a little honey out. Haven't drawn much on this side. It's kind of sporadic, drawing out some columns. They've got honey at the bottom. I don't see the queen in a quick glance. Over on this side, it's turned out to be largely just a frame of honey, and it's fine. The bees are enjoying it, and I'm fine leaving it like that. All right, to speed things up, the next frame is exactly like the one we just saw. It is a little bit larger, but it has nothing but honey on it because we're getting to the outside of the brood nest area. And the further we get away from the center of the colony, the more likely we are not to see much brood. But lo and behold, we see some brood here. Now you might say, oh, I don't like this, it looks spotty, what's going on? No, it just means that they have emerged and the queen has decided not to lay any new eggs there, and so they're just emerging. So that's a perfectly healthy frame of pupa that's coming out now. I can see some that are emerging as we talk. The same is true here. Let me just look for the queen real quick. She could be here, but I don't see her. Again, this is brood. The queen has not replenished it with eggs. She's moved on somewhere else. But this is brood that is emerging, and over here you can see some of those little bees starting to come out, working their way out. So this is, we'll call this a half a frame of brood. So now we're up to 2.5 frame of beautiful brood. Now we're going to put the frames all back together again and look in the next box below it. And to do this, you just kind of move everything back. I'm starting to feel it raining now. I'm under a little tree, so I probably should be fine. It's not raining that hard yet. Okay, one more frame that I believe I stole it from right there. Yep. If not, it's fine to put it right there. Alright, so now we're going to smoke the bees and look in the next box, hoping to see the queen and some more brood. Going to smoke the entrance again. Going to smoke the super down here with a lot of bees in it. As I separate the two sections, I do want to smoke between them in order to calm the bees down that are still in the bottom deep. right, there we go. This is called burr comb. Bees will build this between the two boxes sometimes, and I simply leave it. Again, we're seeing the same thing. Comb on the outside is not drawn out. Only comb, maybe on 4 or 5 frames in the center, is drawn out. So I'll take the outside frame out to give me some space, and then we'll go from there. This is a good colony for us to think about. What would we do with it for coming into fall? How would you combine it, or what kind of things would you do? I'm moving a little bit faster than the bees want me to, and they kind of told me that, so I had to smoke, and I got to go a little slower from now on. Okay, just a drawn frame there of comb. Nothing in it. Trying to work in slow motion. Again, it's not the best day to work. Bees are not foraging. It's cloudy. It rained all night. It stopped raining just long enough for me to make a BT6 video. So when you do that, bees are a little more restless. Alright, so this is a potential frame where we could see a queen, so we want to look at it pretty good here. I don't know if she's marked or not. Let's assume that she is not marked. So my eyes are glancing over, looking for a queen's thorax. It's a little bit bigger than the other bees. Mostly capped brood. Some open cells. On this frame, I see a drone. I noticed the drone walking around here. And when I see drones, I always think, okay, they haven't started killing their drones yet. That's cool. So I don't see the queen as well. Don't see anything there like a queen. I don't see any eggs in this comb. Looking, just taking another second look. I like to look, it's kind of like when you get ready to pull out in front of traffic, you look once and then you look again. I like to look for the queen twice because sometimes I can just overlook her. And if you put the frame back in after missing her, you go searching through a lot of comb again and you get discouraged. So I don't see her. Let's look at the next frame, see what we got. And then after we look at all these frames, I'll talk to you about what I would do with this colony. Because I know some of you probably have similar situations where your colony may be weak or small and you're wondering what to do for fall going into winter. Alright, another frame here. Sun's coming out a little bit. Let me just take a look. I see the queen on this frame. Right there. A nice sized queen, unmarked. So we know we have the queen on this frame. Going to be careful with this frame. This frame is complete with a lot of larvae and eggs. So it looks really good. Give you a chance to see all the different things that are in the comb. In this comb, opposite of the queen, cap brood. They cap it over after day 8. There's a bee at the top there with some yellow pollen on her back. Okay, let me check and make sure I know where my queen is. There she is again. I'm going to watch her as I put my frame back in the hive. I'm going to watch her all the way down, make sure she's in a safe place so I don't kill her by smashing her between like 2 pieces of wood, 2 pieces of frame or something. I'm going to look at one more frame because I've already made my assessment on this colony, and I'm going to talk to you in just a second. Let me look at this frame. Sometimes I have to move bees out of my way with my fingers to get a good grip on it. Okay, brood has emerged in the center. The queen has not laid anything there yet, but they have dried it out or prepared it, polished it up for her to lay there. It's ready for her to lay in the center, around the cat brood. And on this side, she has laid in the center. Might be a little difficult to see, but I see eggs in the center of those cells. All right, so I'm gonna share with you what I would do with a colony like this. I'll speed up the camera here. Here's a small hive beetle. For those of you that may live in an area where there are no small hive beetles, it's one walking right here. They're very easy to kill by just smashing them like that, and that's my go-to method of controlling beetles. So I saw one. Not bad. Smoker performed well during our inspection. A lot of dense smoke. I'm using old blue jeans to make that smoke, and it really worked well during the inspection. I had to get out of the wind so I can talk to you. I always feel funny in this with my hat down like this. I always feel like I have a halo behind me or something. I'm not an angel if you're worried about that. I want to share some things about the hive we inspected. Again, it was a weak colony I combined with a swarm that I caught. I think it was late July, maybe early August. I'm pretty sure late July. So they haven't had a lot of time to build up. I showed you, I think, all the frames. We evaluated them. And maybe you're able to think back about what we saw, what we didn't see. Things that concern me the most is we only saw 20 or 30 cells that had any kind of pollen in them. So protein levels, zilch. And that may be why we didn't see a lot more eggs. And so immediately I say to myself, I think, oh my goodness, I got to get protein in the colony because I don't see a lot of eggs. I saw, you know, a very small amount of eggs. There's eggs verifying the queen's laying good. I saw a lot of cap brood, and that means that at one time they were doing well with protein and they raised a lot of young bees. But I need a lot more than that. They did not have a significant amount of honey, certainly not enough to make it through the winter. Doesn't concern me, however, because I'm gonna put winter bee kinds on there and they'll do just fine, my candy boards. So the way that I look at this colony is, personally, I'm gonna let it continue to be what it is right now. I'm not gonna worry about some of the frames on the outside that aren't drawn out yet. They may never draw those out this year. It's already into August, and so it's not gonna happen. Very little will go on from here on out with wax building. But they're gonna cluster in the middle, and so I'm just gonna simply leave that super on the way it is. They've got a few frames of honey on top. And they're small in number. There is approximately, I would guess that colony to be around 20 to 30,000 in number. Not the number I need to make it through winter. But they're in a nice area on my property. They're on the south side of a building where we get a lot of winter sun and a northern wind block. And I really have overwintered some single deeps in that location. So I'm gonna just experiment. We'll look back at this hive. It may be maybe a depressing moment when we come out of winter and she's gone. But I'm just gonna try to let it stay the way it is. They've built their colony the way they want it right now. Why should I interfere? And certainly I could push some of those frames down into a single deep maybe. Combine, take out the ones that are not drawn out, push them all down to a single deep. But if you do that, then the colony is really spread out wide like this. and they're in a single wide deep. They'll cluster like this, and they have nowhere to go because they're just in a single deep box. I'm looking at it like I have a deep and a deep and a super, and they're more like they are in natural habitat in a tree. And so I'm thinking, okay, I'll feed from the top. They'll have space to go up into the heat of the box. They can move as they want to, as bees naturally do. So that's my take on it. But the number one thing that really concerns me, zero protein in the colony. No protein. Bees do not live by nectar or honey alone. They have to have protein. They have a lot of muscles. They use those muscles to stay warm in the winter. I was happy about the amount of brood that was kept over. I got a lot of bees coming into the future. A lot of bees. Maybe close to, I think, let's say I have about 3 frames on both sides. I've got about 21,000 bees in my future that will emerge soon. So that's a lot. That's 2 packages of bees coming out really soon. So we have a lot of future for this colony, but we need a lot more future. I need to keep seeing a lot of cat brood, so I need a lot of eggs now. I need my queen to lay. I'm going to put my Burns feeding system on top today. I'm going to feed 1-to-1 sugar water with a teaspoon of powder, pollen powder, and I will probably feed 2-to-1 with a little bit of protein as well, and see if I can't get them a little bit stronger, a little more eggs being laid in the next month. Okay, BT6, so that's an evaluation of kind of a weak colony, puny little thing that we're going to try to get through winter. So if you're facing some of these same things that I am, this is some ideas on what you can do. All right? Hey, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.